Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 3, Drunk in Wild Songs. Chapter 214, Commander-in-Chief. On this day when the sun was shining high in the clear sky, the entrance of the Duan province city gates was a riot of noise. Damp snow on the ground went splattering all over under the hooves of the horses. The wheels of wagons transporting provisions skidded between the stone slabs, dragging the horses until they skewed their bodies and neighed, obstructing the path in the process. The Libai armored cavalry behind them was unable to enter, so they had no choice but to dismount their horses to lend a hand. This cursed weather, Yin Chang urgently needed to answer the call of nature, and his face was all red from holding it in as he wrung the belt of his pants. Keeps changing at the drop of a hat. It was so freezing cold a few days back that someone died, yet it's so blazing hot today that it scalds my ass. Horses ran along the path, splashing wet snow over the people until they were dirty all over. Fei Sheng bundled up his robe and tucked it into his belt. He lifted a hand to pinch his nose and groused, "Why do these Biancha ponies stink so bad? They roam the Gobi desert where they poop as they please." Just as Tantai who was speaking, the Biancha pony before him stuck up its tail to take a dump. That steaming hot dung plopped into the damp snow. Tantai who scraped his boots, wanting to pull this horse farther away. Before he could move, a few people on horseback sped past him from behind, spattering hot dung all over them. Fei Sheng's face was already green from holding his breath. It was so stinky it made him hop. The moment he saw the fresh dung assailing towards them, he dove behind Yin Chang, using the old man as a shield and letting him bear the full brunt of the hit. "The balls of you to run!" Yin Chang yelled at the Libai armored cavalryman who had sped past him and wiped his face before turning back to snap at Fei Sheng, "The balls of you to dodge!" Wu Ziu tugged at the reins, meaning to turn around and head back here when Tantai Hui wasted no time in brandishing his hands and cursing, "Motherfucker, get off your horse!" Wu Ziu had just changed into a new pair of boots, and the filthy, muddy figures they all cut were enough to deter him from getting off his horse. He slowed his horse and trotted over to them to ask, "Why is it just the few of you? Where are the second master and the prefectural lord?" "They went in first." Fei Sheng's breathing was ragged as he said in a nasal tone, "Why wasn't the snow cleared earlier? Now the entire path is obstructed. Look how filthy it is. My master's white robe would be ruined if it so much as touched the ground." Wu Ziu had fought a victorious battle and was feeling very pleased with his success. He was just thinking about inviting them out for drinks one of these days. Despite being cussed at, he was not at all angry. Smugly, he said, "I'm busy, okay." Before he was done laughing, a snowball from the other end flew over and smacked him right in the face. Gu Jin's nose could not bear the stench any longer. His expression was livid as he broke out in a string of curses after swinging a ball at Wu Ziu, "The balls of you to laugh. If this hot weather persists, the snow in the city will melt. Just you wait for the sewage in these rotting public ditches to start overflowing. The entire city inside and out will stink to high heavens then." Gu Jin was usually a man of few words who rarely cussed since he also shouldered the heavy responsibility of raising Ding Tao. He did not even lose his temper when he was humiliated by Guo Walai at the Tudalong banner last year, but the stench was so overwhelming that it almost knocked him out from where he stood a short distance away. Wu Ziu used to be quite attentive and thorough in his work, but his victory in the battle this time had gone to his head, leading him to expose his shortcomings and leave behind loose ends in trivial matters. If Chen Yang were here, he would no doubt remind him, but Gu Jin just straightforwardly scolded him. The three men still standing at the back were all struck dumb. Yin Chang held in his pea and stood in a row with Tantai Hu, all just waiting for Gu Jin to give the command to dismount and get to work immediately. Fei Sheng murmured, "Oh, how familiar these expletives sounds." Tantai Hu vaguely hinted, "Balls," he said. "Bah," Yin Chang stooped over and denied, "It wasn't me who taught him that." Wu Ziu had already obediently rolled off his horse. ******. Duan province had never suffered a great fire as Dun province had, and its streets all still looked the same as they did 7 years ago. Stores and restaurants had long since closed. Achi had only kept a few cooked meat shops around. The Scorpions loved the braised beef here. The Biancha troops had resided here for a period of time, and they had slaughtered everyone in the residential areas in the east and west. However, they retained the night market to the north. It was here that Lei Jingzhi carried out his deals with the Scorpions. Shenzhequan stepped on the pile of obsolete junk and leaped onto the collapsed courtyard wall. He could see the night market in the north standing here at the top. Shifu used to love to come to this place in the past as he could buy stuff that could not be found on the local market. What's to the south? Xiao Qiye strode up and looked south. Biancha's riding stables. Shenzhequan exhaled. So, this is an empty city. Shenzhequan once worried about the overwhelming numbers of refugees swarming to Tse province and Cha province from Dan city, but it now seemed that Zongbo, with its reduced population, was a good place to take in the refugees from the 8 cities. It's time to reorganize the yellow registers. Xiao Qiye watched Meng soared on the horizon. The warmth of the sun was making him lazy. He was not wearing his armor today, just his arm guard. It was primarily administered by the 3 prefectures last year. The garrison troops of Cha province and Dun province were lacking in numbers, so the registrations were all jointly handled by the general function staff. But now that the 6 prefectures have fallen under our command, it's time to separate the civilian and military registries. The civilian registry fell under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Revenue. It actually should not be integrated and jointly managed with the military registry. Xiao Qiye held the post of the Imperial Army's viceroy back in Chu capital, and the Imperial Army's office compound had a place specifically dedicated to the overall management of the Imperial Army's military registry. This was one of the reasons that the Imperial Army and the 8 great training divisions were irreconcilably antipathetic to one another. It was not an easy job to be the overlord of Zongbo. There were already not enough Tse province advisors to go around, the 6 prefectures all needed yamens for government administration, wardens' offices for military affairs, as well as the corresponding investigation censors of the respective circuits. All of these won't pose that much of an issue. Yu Xiaozhe has the authority to go on a tour of inspection in the 6 prefectures, which is akin to being an investigation censor. I actually meant to make him the surveillance commissioner of Zongbo. His appraisals in Chu capital are all excellent. Moreover, his job in Chu capital encompasses fieldwork in various areas, so he's well acquainted with the tricks and maneuverings in the yamen. And while Chengfen isn't willing to serve under me, he's willing to assist in the governmental affairs of the remaining 5 prefectures, which more or less resolve my most pressing needs. Shenzhequan watched Meng fly back as he continued, we have no lack of general function staff. As long as the various prefectural yamens are willing to open up opportunities, people will naturally come. What we lack are key officials that can govern and administer government affairs in the prefectures. Not only that, Shenzhequan lacked generals, too. At present, the military affairs in Cha province were temporarily managed by Luo Mu. It was no big deal if it was just for a short while, but Shenzhequan could never let him continue with it for long. This was because Luo Mu had 3 powers, legislative, executive, and judicial, in his hands now. The Jin Yue were temporarily standing in as censors, but they did not have the authority of office to interfere with the government administration of Cha province. If Luo Mu harbored ulterior motives, then it was possible for him to hide it from Shenzhequan's eyes as long as he did it covertly enough. To avoid this kind of incident from happening again, Shenzhequan had to confirm the candidates for the various prefectures as soon as possible. Meng landed on Xiao Qiye's arm. We lack a treasurer, too. Shenzhequan thought of Liang Qiushan when Xiao Qiye brought up this matter. He looked at Xiao Qiye and said, a pity about Liang Qiushan. Liang Qiushan has work to do under Pan Lin's command, so it's not really a waste of his talents. Xiao Qi soothed Meng's feathers. I heard from the reports a few days back that Shuizhuo is going to check the Dan city's fields. If this can be successfully carried out, none of the 8 cities will be able to escape unscathed, and that will be a heavy blow to the noble clans. There's no definite news yet, Shen Zequin said as he leaped off the wall. We will have to wait for them to come over before we can know the details. They walked back along the path. When they arrived before the house they were staying at, only Fei Sheng was there waiting. There were no signs of Gu Jin or the others. They all went to clear the snow. Fei Sheng's words took an about turn in his mouth. He added, "It's Gu Jin and Wu Zio's turn to take over this time." What he meant was that he was not loafing on the job. He just happened to be taking a break. Shen Zequin knew Fei Sheng's temperament, and he had no plans to pursue it further either, so he merely said to Xiao Qi, "The public ditches in Duan province have to be re-inspected. We don't know the state they are in, so we have to make plans for it as soon as possible." Xiao Qi cast a glance at Fei Sheng but said nothing. Fei Sheng had done a fairly decent job of playing it safe in his handling of Huo Lingyun's matter. He had held his temper in check and did not attack the other man, and even if he could not stand the sight of Huo Lingyun, he did not go around creating trouble for him. As a result, Xiao Qi was now finally willing to remember and recognize him. Fei Sheng did not dare to let both of them remain standing at the entrance, so he led the way inside and had the prefectural lord take his seat first. This place was the residence of the former Duan province's commander from the Zhou clan, the same Zhou clan in which Lei Jingzhi was born. It had fallen into disuse. Here, and Wu Zio had tidied it up to receive both of them from their journey afar so they could take a rest. The clearing of snow at the city gates continued until the hour of Su. These were all men who had led troops to fight wars, so Shen Zequin did not call them over for a discussion all night. The kitchen had long prepared the dishes, and everyone took a few bites before getting on with their rest. Fei Sheng, who shared a dwelling with Yin Chang and Tan Tai Hu, fainted right there and then as soon as these two men took off their boots. Shen Zequin and Xiao Qi had only just finished their meals when Gu Jin, who had been waiting outside, entered. Seeing something amiss with Gu Jin's expression, Xiao Qi set down the light reed in his hand and asked, "What's the matter?" Gu Jin took out the letter from his bosom and presented it to Xiao Qi. "There is a letter from Libei to Master." Xiao Qi noted that there were 2 letters, one was official business that Xiao Jiming wrote, and the other was a private letter. Chen Yang had sent them over. He first looked at Xiao Jiming's letter. His eldest brother mentioned the horses would be able to arrive at Mount Luo at the end of the 2nd month, which was also when Xiao Qi was scheduled to return to the battle zone. Xiao Qi had long known about this, but there was one mention of interest worth ruminating over. When Gu Jin left the room, Shen Zequin popped his head out from behind and set his chin down on the top of Xiao Qi's head. He lowered his eyes to read the letter, then said in a calm tone, "So, a surprise from your eldest brother." Xiao Qi read that part a few times. "He transferred Guo Wulai over to my Sha'er camp, a move that is meant to free up the Shazan camp for my Shifu. Guo Wulai isn't used to fighting at Hassan's rhythm. It's too aggravating for him to remain in Shazan camp." In all fairness, Guo Wulai did indeed possess the talent to lead troops. The fact that he could defend the Tudalong banner for so long was proof enough of his capability. However, this man had a short fuse and a bad temper, and he was extremely impulsive. He was not an easy man to get along with, especially when he was unconvinced or unwilling to concede defeat and would be all belligerent and combative when he opened his mouth. Last year, he wounded Gu Jin and even stripped Gu Jin of his military rank. For that reason, his relationship with Xiao Qi was rather delicate, and his soldiers repeatedly clashed with the imperial army in Shazan camp after Xiao Qi took down said camp. The commanding generals of the 3 great camps in the battle zone were on rotation this year. Both Xiao Qi and Guo Wulai were unaccustomed to each other's troops. Ever since his arrival at the Sha'er camp, Guo Wulai had hardly touched and mobilized the imperial army. He found the imperial army to be a slippery bunch who played dirty. They relied on their Chu capital origins to throw their weight around and had no respect for their superiors. Because of Xiao Fangxiu's incident, he no longer acted acrimoniously or created a scene even if he could not stand the sight of Xiao Qiye, but the issue with Gu Jin remained unresolved, like a thorn that stood between them. This person was difficult to use. There was also a deeper meaning to Xiao Jiming's arrangement. The other two camps could both communicate and work with Guo Wulai, whether it was Zhou Qiankai, Lu Guangbai or Zhao Hui, none of them would get into a dispute with Guo Wulai. Yet Xiao Jiming just had to transfer him to Xiao Qiye's shatter camp. After a moment of silence, Xiao Qiye said, "As expected of my eldest brother." This arrangement was truly a blow that hit right at the crux of the matter where it hurt. After this battle in Duan province, Xiao Qiye's words would carry a lot of weight once he returned to the battle zone. He did not get along with the Libai armored cavalry, but both of them could slowly get used to each other. Much like on this occasion, no army would reject a commanding general that could lead them to victory. Moreover, not only was Xiao Qiye fair in meting out rewards and punishments, but he was also a man of his word. However, if he wanted to put the Libai armored cavalry to full use, he would have to overcome the obstacle that was Guo Wulai. Otherwise, a lack of unity among the generals who were not of one mind would surely lead to disaster. Shen Zequan felt sleepy in the room. With his eyes half closed, he murmured softly, "See, Ian, the vastness of the ocean comes from its acceptance of hundreds of rivers. This is an opportunity your eldest brother is giving you." Under the dim light, Xiao Qiye recollected the campfire in the snowstorm. Xiao Fangxiu had clenched his fist right before his eyes, and amidst the flickering light of the fire, his father had asked him, "You want this position, but are you truly qualified enough?" End chapter.